He's choking dogs again. That's right, the dog choker is back. Hi, it's Christophe Clugston, the Jedi Dog Master. I already posted one video about this guy, and people had asked me, hey, that might just be a one-off case that he, maybe you caught him when he didn't know anything. Well, he does that with many dogs, and you're looking at a video of a board and train. Somebody actually paid him to have the dog for several weeks and to do this to the dog. Now, do you call this abuse? I'm going to go through what's going on. Again, he actually has the collar on correctly for the dog to be on his left side. In this case, he's using the slip chain, and he's giving it the bad pseudonym of choke chain because that's what he's doing. He's got a better leash this time around that he's using, but he doesn't really even need the leash. He could just use a tab. I don't know if he knows what a tab is, but the way he's using this, he's got constant tension on the dog. He's got the collar constantly tight. And if you hear the audio, which for copyright strikes, I'm not going to play his audio. You can go to his original video. It's on Rumble, and you can see that the dog, and hear that the dog is making that noise, which is, look, I've been around dogs. I've been training dogs, and this is my 51st year of training dogs. There's just nobody that compares with me or Robert Weatherwax. The two of us are doing it longer than anybody that's on the YouTube. So what you got to pay attention to, though, is that this dog is being constantly pulled on, constant tension. This is from the old compulsion, but he doesn't even do the compulsion correctly because he has no reward, as they would say, for the dog when the dog performs correctly. He's keeping constant tension all the time, and he's saying, I'm dialing into the dog. No. You are choking the dog the entire time. And you see that he jerks on the leash several times, tugging it. There's no reason for this, number one. And number two, all this does is get the dog to shut down. So what he's saying, oh, the dog's relaxing. No. In operant conditioning, and I'm going to tell everybody a little something about studies that were done. And this is when ethics were a little bit different for lab testing. So it's actually called learned helplessness. And this happens quite a bit, not just with dogs, but humans also. So when the dog cannot escape the constant thing, they just give up. And they won't try to find a solution. So the dog is not really learning this way. And so the studies, what they did, they had a wire mesh floor, and they would electrify it. And the dog would learn, the dog would try to escape this, and he would go over to the other side, which was not electrified. So the dogs would learn to move immediately, especially if they paired a sound with it, that is not classical conditioning. People make a big mistake. Michael Ellis, loads of people have a mistake. Associative learning is not Pavlovian respondent conditioning. Become one of my mentorees, and you'll learn about all this stuff academically, not just hackneyed versions. But so they would electrify the floor, and then the dog would go to the other side, and then they would indicate with a light, and for example, or a buzzer, and then they would electrify the other side, and the dog would go back over. So the dog quickly learns to avoid the sides. And especially if they put it on a fixed timer, then the dog would start. Dogs are good at knowing time if it's irregular, so they would, I'm explaining all the things that they did. So the dog would learn and already move before the thing went off. So avoidance, which is known as escape and avoidance training, which is still a big deal with operant conditioning, and you got to use it at a certain point, especially with working tactical dogs. Okay, so, but what happened when they electrified the floor on both sides? The dog could no longer escape. The dog could not escape. The dog could not come up with a solution to avoid the charge. And then they weren't taking this like huge. This wasn't a lot of voltage or whatever. But the thing is, the dog couldn't escape, so the dogs just wouldn't even move. They just shut down. You see this in shelters, rescues, whatever, pounds, whatever you want to call them, dog jail. Dogs do this because they cannot escape. They don't have a way out. They want to get away from that, but they can't, so they shut down and they quit. And this is exactly what's happening here, that Dale the Fail McCluskey is putting constant tension on the dog, doesn't give the dog any way to out. The dog doesn't know to do anything. The dog doesn't come up with a solution on his own. He's not giving the dog a solution. All he's doing is saying, oh, the dog's relaxing. No, the dog is being driven into learned helplessness. This guy, I cannot believe that people pay this guy for his non sequiturs and everything that he says that makes absolutely no sense. His faulty paradigm of saying dog and dog training is like the parent-child relationship in the Western Hemisphere. It is not. He's wrong. He has no degree in counseling, no degree in psychology, ethology, behavior ecology. He knows nothing about any of this. He's never trained a dog to do a specific task. He'll babble, but he doesn't show proof. He runs from my Jedi Dog Master challenge because he cannot do it. And I'm here, like Ralph Nader and Kevin Samuels, to expose people who are doing things wrong or who don't have the level that they claim that they do. If they don't have the skill level, look, you can either, and I'm going to say it over and over to people who can repeat this in their sleep, you either can run a 4-minute mile or you can't. Talking about it and making up excuses why 4-minute mile, or you don't have to prove it to me. Yes, you do. If you're in this arena and you say you have skill and you're charging people, you have to be able to prove your skill. If you think that you're a 4-minute mile runner and you're telling people that's what you can do, yes, I can do that. I'm world class. But you cannot run. You can't even make a 12-minute mile. You're a liar. You're a fraud. You're a faker. You're a poser. You're a charlatan. All of those things. So here you're looking at Dale the Fail McCluskey. Now, I want you to be certain to note that this guy does this with many dogs, not just one dog. So here's what you're seeing, and I've covered it all. All right, so, people like, subscribe, and all that stuff, okay? And leave a comment to Dale the Fail McCluskey.